Council, let's move to items of new business, the first of which is the purchase of equipment for the Turner Field restroom building. Mr. Merriman has information for us in that regard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a budgeted item that is partially funded through grants with the Land and Water Conservation Fund and the PARD grant program through the state. It is there's a total of $106,000, $68,000 of which is grant money, $38,000 to some changes in the city's contribution. Has been funded and approved by council. This is for the construction and the purchase and construction of a modular restroom facility for Turner Field.
Council will entertain a motion to receive based on the information that you've gotten from staff.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. Any questions in that regard?
Is this money just for the structure itself? It doesn't actually include finishing it, or is that just the structure and the delivery of it?
The structure delivery, the excess funds will go to site preparation and grading and anything else that needs to enhance the building. But what you see in front of you, that $50,000 is for the purchase of the modular structure.
Was that in comparison to like on-site construction or something?
Yeah, it was. This was a less expensive option.
Less expensive.
Yes, ma'am.
When I saw that, and I saw that little building, I thought, that sounds like a lot for that.
Yeah.
Is it? It's not. It's a unisex. Is that right?
Single use.
Like
It is a single-use facility. Yes, ma'am.
Others? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood?
Yes.
Mr. Hopper?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert? Yes. Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, the second item before us this evening is the first reading of ordinance number 60-2020. This is an ordinance to provide for the annexation of property owned by Alice's and Kevin Duncan located at 255 Sheffield Creek Road by 100% petition and to establish the zoning classification of R20 for said property. Ms. Cotty joins us this evening for information.
Thank you, Mayor. So again, this request is for one parcel, approximately half an acre. They are requesting to annex and zone to R20 residential. This is the current zoning map. You can see the area around it is also residential. The city also does have one other property on Sheffield Road already in the city. And then this is the future land use map. Again, it's not currently part of our land use map, but the adjacent properties are residential land use 1, consistent with that R20 kind of lower density single family zoning. This is a street view of the property, and that's all the information I have, but I'm happy to answer any questions, and I believe the applicant is here as well.
I'll entertain a motion to receive 60-2020.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second.
The only thing I see we need to change is the address. It's 255 Sheffield Road. There's no creek.
Okay, we can do that.
I was going to say that was the first time I'd ever seen creek with it, but yeah,
So you can see
we
it
maybe
on-
want to double check that
You can
before
look on the map right
before second reading. Yeah.
This is taking up a section of the existing property, like one big lot now? Or is it two, I mean, that Sheffield Street, is there already a house on that? They're gonna build another house beside it? Is that what it is?
No, ma'am, it's an existing single family residential home that they're requesting to come into the city. Sorry, I just meant the city already does service Sheffield Road. You can see down the road 247 and 247A. But yes, they're not proposing any additional structures.
I might add, this is a great example of questions that we run into all the time. This is a home that is in an older, established neighborhood, and you can see how it touches the city there on the back corner. This was an opportunity that Mr. Duncan and his wife and children took to annex into the city, and with Mr. Deaton's assistance, we ran some preliminary numbers for them on what the cost of that was going to be, and I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody say, oh, well, I don't want to be in the city, my taxes will be twice as much. He hasn't finished getting insurance quotes and some other stuff at this point in time, but it's going to be basically a wash for him. Just the addition of some city taxes because of the savings that he is going to enjoy from his fire rating and his insurance, and from his garbage collection. He's cutting it at about a third, and his rates that he'll get from CPW. So this is a perfect example of where it's going to cost him probably in the end less than $500 to come into the city. So it's a great example of where somebody may be hesitant about coming into the city because of a tax burden. This is one that we can look back and say, take a look at this one. I think he's also eager to run for the seat in District 4. So.
I will say that the positive about this too is this is right behind my house, and the other house that's been in the city for years is kind of the Lone Ranger, and they would get forgotten a lot with trash pickup and different things like that, just because they were out there on their own. And so it's kind of nice to have two houses now on the same street in the city, and hopefully it'll start a trend down the road.
I'm hoping that it will. Yeah, I think his experience has been so good that hopefully there'll be others along through there that'll come in. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert, yes, Mayor Danner.
Yes. First reading of ordinance number 61, 2020. This is an ordinance to provide for the annexation of property owned by Global Commerce Park, LLC, located at 700 Brockman McClyman Road by 100% petition, and to establish a zoning classification of I-1 for said property. Ms. Cotty, additional information in that regard, please.
Sure. So they are requesting, you can see it's a little hard to tell, but the circle and the red outline, it's a small parcel, 1.17 acres that they are requesting to annex in. It will be part of the Global Commerce Park development, I believe, in the second phase. They own the property that's dark blue, which is I-1, and then the light blue S1 below it, and they are requesting an I-1 zoning. In terms of the future land use map, it is part of an employment center and also a regional center. And then this is the existing kind of land use at the time. And that's all I have, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So.
And a second.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion. Questions? Comments? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert, yes, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, we have, thank you, Ms. Cotty.
Thank you.
Council, we have before us this evening the first reading of ordinance number 62-2020. This is an ordinance amending the City of Greer Code of Ordinances, Chapter 78, Streets, Sidewalks, and Public Property, to repeal and replace Article 2, Excavations, as Article 2, Construction of Utilities and Other Public Properties within Street Right-of-Way and Easements. This comes to us for review this evening. I'll entertain a motion to receive. And a second. Floor is open for discussion at this point. Don't be shy.
I think there's a lot of review that I'd like to do, kind of make sure
this is an issue that we have discussed sort of ad nauseum for quite some time in regards to how to address some of the issues that we have noticed around the city. And I want to first of all thank our staff for taking under consideration our concerns, and then second of all for putting together an ordinance. One of the tricky things about doing an ordinance is that you don't want it to be too long or too short. It has to strike a balance, and I know that Mike Sells worked a good bit on this ordinance along with other staff members and certainly with Mr. Merriman as well. I attempted to do sort of a red line comparison today, and I found myself quickly in over my head. And I say that we as in council, the discussions I have had with council, I think many of you are in the same boat. It's a lot to absorb and to understand, and I think we want to be sure that we're getting it right. One of the things that I think we may want to continue to talk about is how this fits in our comprehensive road program and our plan. That's something that we've been working on for quite some time, and I know that after a little online research, there are cities that include these types of items just in their as a subsection in their comprehensive road plan, and that may be one of the things that down the road that we're going to want to consider is, where does this fit and how does it fit and what do we do with it? I would agree that there may be things that we want to add. There's certainly things that I know from discussions with other council members we're going to want to amend in some cases and remove in some cases. And so I guess at this point in time, if there is discussion that council thinks is pertinent for staff to better understand, or if you would rather have those conversations one-on-one after you've had more chance to absorb it, I know Mr. Merriman will be glad to have your input, either written or in person, either one. But I think we're at a point that just from what I understand, that we would be best at this point, other than discussion tonight, to consider holding this matter over. Again, I want to thank the staff for the work that's gone into it. We're by no means saying this isn't a direction that we want to go, but we may take a little different route to get there. Anything you would like to add to that, sir?
No, sir. Just any feedback that you'd like to provide, let me know, and I look forward to working not only with you on cleaning this up and getting to where we need it to be, but working with the stakeholders and getting where it's equitable for all parties.
I think this is a good starting point. No doubt, not just the commission, but some other people will probably have some ideas after they read it about what it should or shouldn't say. But I don't think there's any denying that there's nothing wrong with expecting utility and other contractors in this town notifying us when they're going to do something and doing that by certain specifications. I just think that's common sense, and I don't think anybody should argue with that. In the nuts and bolts, that's where we need to work it out. Make sure that everybody's on board.
And it's protecting the public investment and to make sure, that piece in there, the language about the warranty of the work for a year is just, to make sure that things don't settle and compaction doesn't occur under the road, just, creating issues that are ongoing down the road that go beyond that year. I think that's one thing that we've got to make sure that, I don't know that it needs to stay in there, but something I think has been a concern. I've heard several people mention that it needs to be addressed too, and I know it's in the ordinance, but I'm sure when you have the discussions with the stakeholders, I think we'll be able
sure that with the city's assets, our residents' assets, that they're taken care of, and that we're not having to repair or replace those particular assets before their useful life or their expected life expectancy is done. And I think what's gotten everybody's attention it's got my attention is that it just costs us so much in road paving, and a lot of it is premature road paving, and it's because of, not one single sheet of music for people singing around.
To your point, Mr. Irwood, I think for me, especially at the point where we are in our growth and with what we have ahead of us, I think it's in our best interest. I think it's in our residents' best interest. I think it's in all the stakeholders' best interest that we do have something in black and white, so that expectations are very clear, so that there's not, like right now, we can put the line in the sand. And I know mine, and I know you guys' desire is simply that our residents would be protected in all of this, and I think there's a way to balance that with being equitable and fair and efficient for the stakeholders as well. So I do like the idea of giving ample time and opportunity for staff to have those conversations so that we are all on the same page as much as possible moving forward with this. So.
I'm glad, I also support holding it over. I got home from our kind of retreat on Friday night, and I had one of those over-the-fence conversations with one of my neighbors is one of the commissioners, and he was really caught off guard by our agenda and the language, and so we definitely need a little bit more time, a little bit more conversation to work it out. And so holding it over, I think, for now is the right thing until we can have those discussions.
I don't know what made me just think about this, but, this is sort of an example like a situation that we had a number of years ago, and I know Jay and Riley were on the council then, and maybe others were as well too. But we had an annual bill with the county jail for in excess of $300,000, and by simply making a few changes and working with the stakeholders, we were able to reduce that significantly. And I think this is sort of a similar situation that, we had, in the case of the jail, we only had to make a few tweaks and make a few things different take place, and worked with the county on that and our police department. And this is a similar type of thing. It's I think several people have said it this evening. This is not necessarily about us or any of the stakeholders as much as this is about being good stewards of the money that we have and how we use it and where it gets used. Because as Jay mentioned earlier, we're spending somewhere in the neighborhood of several $100,000 a year, not only in paving but in repairs at this point. Close to $750,000. So probably would be wise for us to take whatever time we need on this. And so if someone would like to amend the motion to hold over, we will, let's see. Who made the motion?
Councilman Bettis.
Bettis? I'll ask Councilman Bettis if he'd like to amend the motion to hold over.
Yes, sir, I'll do it.
And second was
Ms. Albert.
Ms. Albert. I need a second, Ms. Albert, to hold over. Let Tammy know.
Yeah.
Second from Ms. Albert. I have an amended motion to hold over, a motion and a second. Any discussion in that regard, further discussion in that regard? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Irwood.
Yes.
Mr. Hopper.
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Ms. Albert. Yes. Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, in the last item on our regular agenda this evening, we've got the 2021 Greer City Council meeting schedule. You have that contained in your packet. It does come before us for approval, so I will entertain a motion to receive for the purpose of discussion.
So moved.
And a second. You see a calendar attached with a list of those meeting dates and times. Any discussion in that regard? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert, yes, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, before we adjourn, in regards to meeting schedule, and I have not discussed this with staff yet, but it occurred to me in a discussion with one of you today that there are 5 Tuesdays in December. We are actually going to be meeting on the 8th of December. Now, I don't know if that's going to be problematic for other commissions or boards or others that are going to be meeting. If we need to consider moving that meeting to the 15th, I don't know, but probably need to be aware of that in terms of making sure not only are we going to be able to accommodate that, but sufficient notice is given to those that may be trying to get something in before the end of the year in terms of before one of our boards and commissions, exactly what that schedule is going to be, because that's earlier than our last meeting typically is in the month of December, since we only meet once.
Say again about the 8th.
That will be our only meeting in December
This year.
this year.
Oh.
This year,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, this year.
So we only have 2 meetings left.
I provide like planning and zoning with a calendar every year,
Mhm.
and they notify their applicants of the dates, so they're well aware. Is that
Okay,
what you're talking about?
yeah,
Yes, everyone is well aware of that date of that council meeting.
okay. All right. That's good then. Thank you. Council, we don't have any items for executive session this evening. Mr. Merriman, nothing in executive session?
No, sir.
All right. Stand adjourned.